Hey guys, it's Alexander. This is my first computer build, and one with the same specs will run you about $450. Let's get into it. Starting with the motherboard, I chose the Asrock B250 M Pro 4. This is a total of 4 PCIe and PCI slots, 2 M.2 SSD slots, and a maximum of 64GB of 2400MHz DDR4 RAM. The processor that I'll be putting in this is the Intel Pentium G4560 with 2 cores, 4 threads, a base frequency of 3.5 GHz, and a TDP of 54 watts. This CPU is equivalent to the previous generation's i3-3100. When installing the CPU, you will want to look for the 2 divots on this board along with a tiny golden triangle. Match these up with the corresponding properties on the motherboard and gently place the CPU onto it. It should be quite snug. Now, throw away the idea of being gentle because you will use a large sum of force to pry the latch down. A piece of plastic will pop off, and now the CPU is installed. For the RAM, I decided to go with 8GB of Corsair Vengence LPX DDR4 clocked at 2666MHz. RAM has the easiest installation. Match up the notch, find slot 1, press the tabs down, and push down until you hear a satisfying click. As for the cooling, instead of going with an Intel stock cooler, I chose the Cryorig H7. Not only does it look good, it is second highest rated on PC Part Picker. It is a tower cooler, has one 120mm fan, and has Cryorig's unique fin design. Installing this was a bit of a pain, for me at least. Rather than just pushing down 4 clips, you were given a small plate, select the Intel side and set it down. After that, you run 4 screws through the holes specified by the manual, realize that you set the plate down wrong, redo what you've just done, and then slide these black tubes on the extruding screws from the other side. Apply some thermal paste, screw the heat sink on, and admire what you've accomplished thus far. And now it's time to put all of that inside of a case. Strip the case of its side panels and set it down. Insert the I/O panel that came with the motherboard, place your creation into the case, identify where you will need the screws, and begin screwing. Once you have done that, be confused by the excess amount of screws and pieces, and prepare yourself for the next step, the installation of your graphics card. For the GPU, I selected Asus's new Dual RX 480. The RX 480 just barely out-edges the GTX 970, edges over half the price with its 36 compute units, 2304 stream processors, and 4GB of GDDR5 VRAM. Installing this is rather simple. Choose a PCIe X16 slot and remove the corresponding covers. Then press it into the slot and place back the screws. Before we begin the cabling, we will need to install some storage. I'm using a single solid state drive from Kingston with 240GB. I chose to go with this instead of a mass storage hard drive so that I can install Windows on it. At a later date though, I do plan on getting a hard drive or another SSD, but in the meantime, this will do greatly. Right now, it is time to plug in all these case header cables into the motherboard. Reference the case and motherboard manual to accomplish this task. I chose EVGA's 100-N1 550W power supply to power this computer. One big reason for this decision is that it has all black cables. To install it, you literally just slide it in through the bottom and screw it in, and now you have all these cables to plug in. And when doing that, you literally just do it all intuitively. Once you are done with that, you can now put on the side panels and stare in awe at your creation. And be sure not to forget about the best part, the removal of the plastic that has been covering the window since the beginning. Now, wasn't that great? Now the finished product, a Wacom tablet, a pair of high-Feynman HE350s, a Havit mouse on top of a SteelSeries mousepad, an eMarth RGB keyboard, a 1080p 64Hz Spectre monitor, and a blue snowball. Thanks for watching.